So rehashing what we've done so far, we split our page into two. We gave this a little background. We made a nav bar up at the top with a notifications bell and a more vert, those three vert buttons, those three dots. Now, neither of them has anything when you click on it. And right here, this doesn't really do anything either. The messages is also a link, doesn't really do anything. But this one's not a link at all. We should probably change that in a little bit. But so far, we're getting pretty close to something that does kind of look a little bit like our Messenger app. It's starting to look a little bit like it, huh? You notice that? Not bad. I can live with that for the time being. That looks okay. I might want to make this a little bigger, a little thinner. This one right here? This little three dots, Sam, comes from this right here. This icon with the class of more vert next to the messages where in the side header. That's actually where that comes from. You see that? Cool. Now if we do this, we can see a couple things. First of all, we have nothing in our subheader, nothing in our contacts list, and we don't have this little text input there. See that? Let's go ahead and add that right now. And then I think that'll wrap up enough of the front end that we can be comfortable with what we've done for the time being. Cool? So the first thing we want to do is inside our subheader, let's go ahead and add those two things that we need inside the subheader, which in this case are a button with a plus sign, right? And the word new conversation. Cool with that? Now, inside the subheader, I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to type in an anchor tag, and inside there, actually, no, you know what's even easier? Instead of doing that, why don't we just go to materialize? And instead of making that button, let's see if they have one for floating buttons. I'm going to go to components, and I'm going to find buttons. Oh, would you look at that? They have one, exactly like what we need. A floating button with a big plus sign in it. How convenient is that? Let's steal it. Shall we? So just copy that, actually. Because I was going to add some stuff inside my code, but I think it's just easier if we do it like this. We just copy and paste that whole thing right there. And instead, I'm actually going to put this on a couple lines so you can see this a little easier. Instead of red, we want ours to be white. And we want this material icons to have black text. And in fact, I think we want the one up here to have gray text. And so just by adding these two things, we can make our app look a little nicer. And we probably want to add a span right below this that says with a class, let's just give it a class of button text or something. And let's call it new conversation. And that should actually patch up a lot of what we need for this app. Kind of nice. Would you look at that? If we do this, and I'm going to come back to this in a second, I just want to see if it worked nicely. Oh, cool. We have this plus button. We have the words new conversation right there. That doesn't look exactly like what I want, but it's there. I think that button's a little too big, so instead of saying button large, let's make it button medium. Just to make sure. Yeah, that looks a little nicer. That's starting to look good. Cool. I'm feeling a little bit better about this. We should probably add some styles here to both the subheader and to the button text. Yeah, let me slack this out to everybody right now. And if we look, this looks kind of nice. We probably need to add some styles to this, so let's go ahead and add some styles to it right now. This is the subheader, right? So a few things here that I think will make this look a lot nicer. The first thing we should do is right below the side header here, we should add a subheader class. Let's give it padding of 20 pixels on the top and 18 pixels on the left and right. And then let's add some other nice stuff to it that I think will make it look a lot flyer. I'm going to give it a hover pseudo class. So when we hover over it, its background color will be something kind of nice. Let's go with like a little bit red, It's going to be like a grayish color. F1, F3, F4. This would be like a grayish color. Not stupidly gray, but kind of gray. And whenever you hover over it, I want its cursor to be a pointer. And just by doing this, actually, it makes things a lot nicer. And so adding a few of those things, now you might not realize what we've just done there, but we've made this look a lot better really quickly. And so with just a little bit of code, we style this up, we save, and we add a little bit of margin to the button text. Let's say button-text. Let's give it a margin left of 12 pixels. And let's take a look at what it looks like now. So if I do this, I now can scroll over this. Check that out. That looks kind of nice. This looking a little closer to what we wanted. This is gray. This looks nice. The button looks nice. And when we hover over it, it gives us that cursor and it gives us that gray background. You see that? Now, actually, I think that's a much closer gray to what this is right here. So we probably want to make the background that color gray also. So maybe we take this color and we put it in the background of the main instead of just hashtag EEE. Let's set it to what we had right there. And I think that will add a nice little touch to our app. Refresh that. There we go. That's looking pretty fly. We get much closer to what we wanted here. Maybe that text needs to be a little bigger, I think, because here it's pretty big. Notice that? So like we can make that font size a little bigger. We probably need to do the same thing with these messages right here. Make the font size a little bigger for both of them. I'd say like, what's this one at, 20 pixels? This one right here probably looks like 24, maybe 23. This one's probably like 18, 16, 17. And ours looks a little bit smaller than that. So, yeah, exactly. The same color as we made that subheader right there. I'm also going to make that button text have a font size of like, let's go with 17 pixels. I don't know if that's right or not. We can find out really quickly. Yeah, that looks a little bigger, close-ish, right? You can decide for yourself if that looks right or not. But I like it. And so we've done a little bit of work here, not too much work, but a little bit. And just like that, we have something that looks all right. What's that? Yeah, I increased the button text font size to like 17 pixels. Just so that looks a little nicer. And up to this point, we kind of have a lot of like the groundwork out of the way. And so we're not going to add any of the contacts to our contact section until we have some JavaScript there and we can pull it from the database. But for the time being, I do want to put a unordered list inside the contacts like this with an ID equals, what should we call this? Like contact list, so that we can add all the contacts here with JavaScript. Yeah, let's just say ID equals contact list. So that when we put some list items in there with JavaScript, we'll just add them in as soon as we can pull them from the database. And just by doing that, we've gotten pretty far in our app. I think there's only really one more thing to do before I feel comfortable adding some JavaScript to this. Because if we look at it now, that looks nice. We can add some conversation lists over here. I like that little hover effect. That looks fly. Ooh, it's missing the dots. What happened to those? Oh, they're back. Okay, cool. Maybe we can touch this up a little bit in a minute. We have to add some functionality here. When we click on this, things will work, right? But the one thing we really need to do is put a little text input down there. You see that? We definitely need that. So I think I'm going to stop this video here, and then in the next video I'm going to add some text inputs and whatnot.